Central bank digital currency is not a cryptocurrency. It's issued by a central bank. It's not going to be on the blockchain. Could be, but it's not. It's going to be. It has to be a ledger. But basically, a digital dollar, central bank digital currency, a digital dollar is still a dollar. A digital euro is still a euro. A digital yuan is still a yuan. So it's not really a new currency. It is a new payment channel. It is a new way of distributing the currency. And by the way, the rollout of the central bank digital currency, and this just to kind of answer your question on the executive order, China's gone full speed ahead. China already has one that's in the pilot program stage. If you were at the Winter Olympics in last January or February rather, you had to buy your tickets and your meals with the QR code on your iPhone, which was this digital yuan. And Europe is not quite there yet, but they're moving very fast. The US was taking their time. The Fed was conservative. They had a joint research project with MIT. They're like, oh, yeah, we can kind of see this coming, but we're the dollar and we want to take our time. That changed with that executive order. This has now been put full speed ahead. This has been accelerated because the Fed sees the horses leaving the barn, so to speak, and they want to get their digital dollar out very quickly. Now, this goes hand in hand with the elimination of cash. Kind of a separate subject, but our friend Ken Rogoff, The Curse of Cash, just get that book and read it because there's the manifesto for getting rid of cash. What do they have to do with each other? Well, when you have a central bank digital currency, and by the way, just for bank stock investors or maybe MasterCard, you can disintermediate the entire banking system with a digital currency. So the way right now, I go to buy, I bought a candy bar in an airport yesterday. I use a credit card. Well, so I'm the customer, buy the candy bar, pay for it with a credit card. The retailer has a receivable, and there's a factor called the merchant acquirer. Merchant acquirer bundles up all these receivables from retailers in the hundreds of millions. So they buy them, retailer gets paid. They then deliver them to MasterCard or Visa and say, pay me. MasterCard and Visa pay the merchant acquirer. The MasterCard and Visa distribute the receivables to the banks that issue the card. And then my bank sends me a bill and I pay the bill. You got 5 counterparties for one candy bar. So you got the retail customer, the retail outlet, the merchant acquirer, MasterCard, and the bank, the issuing bank. And the fees are like 3%. So do we need 5 financial intermediaries or system participants at 3% fees to buy a candy bar? The Fed would say no. I have an account at the Fed, and so do you. And if I owe you money, I just click my account and it shows up in your account. It's like Venmo, except the Fed's in the middle. The Fed won't actually disintermediate the banks because the Fed was created in 1913 for the sole purpose of propping up the banks. Forget about dual mandate and all this green, all that stuff. They're just there to prop up the banks. But it will have profound impact on fees and MasterCard. So it's better, faster, cheaper, and less complicated in theory. So that's the case for the digital currency. Okay, let's talk about the reality. I always say if you want to slaughter pigs, you got to get them into the slaughterhouse, but you got to run them in a chute. They can't be running around wild. You get them in a chute, get them in the slaughterhouse and kill them. So if you want to slaughter savers and investors, you got to get them into the digital slaughterhouse. And the way you do it is with a digital currency. So no more cash. Now we're all digital. What can we do? Negative interest rates. Okay. Right now, the solution for negative interest rates, I just go down to the bank and take all my money out and put it in a suitcase and bury it in the backyard or whatever. By the way, it's not so easy to get your money out. That's a whole separate thing we don't have time for. So you have to eliminate cash if you want to impose negative interest rates. Why stop there? Why not withholding taxes? So if you have like a regular job, like most Americans, you get a paycheck, twice a month or whatever, your employer withholds taxes from your paycheck and gives it to the United States Treasury. And then at the end of the year, you get a W-2, you file a tax return, you reconcile it, and you owe or you get a refund. But that's not true for doctors, lawyers, dentists, professionals, consultants. It's not true for a lot of people. They get paid gross and it's up to them to file their own, to pay their own installments. Well, what if the Treasury said, we're just going to take it out of your bank account. We're just going to take it out of your bank account, send you a new form of, the CBDC, central bank digital currency 1099, with the amount we took out of your account. Oh, okay. So now you got withholding taxes out of your bank account. This is the culmination of the total surveillance state. So right now we're all under surveillance through our phones, right? And so you go, big deal, you're at the point of purchase. They already know it because you got your iPhone on. Yeah, but they don't know what I'm buying. MasterCard might, but the US government doesn't. I'm on the wrong side of that trade. All of a sudden, they're freezing your account. Gun purchase? Nah, sorry, it doesn't work for that. Ammo doesn't work. It used to be, and what about your constitutional rights? Well, so somebody said to me the other day, well, if they really want to know what you're buying, they can find that out. You got to subpoena MasterCard, and you need a reason under the Fifth Amendment. And it has to be a reasonable, narrow scope under the Fifth Amendment. And you're entitled to protection against unreasonable search and seizure from under the Fourth Amendment. I'm sorry, those other references should have been to the Fourth Amendment. But your Fifth Amendment rights are invoked also. Confiscation of property without compensation, et cetera. Second Amendment, right to bear arms, First Amendment, freedom of speech. Well, all those things only work if the government is trying to impose them on you, but they're saying, oh, we're not doing that. We're just freezing your bank account over here. So total surveillance, withholding taxes, negative interest rates, freeze the account, seize the account, and then I'll keep going, okay? Digital currency is programmable. Please. I'm not a doom and gloomer, but I am a realist. Trump had $1,400 and $600 COVID relief checks, and Biden had a $1,400. We all get a $1,400 check, right? But now they'll send it out in a digital form, and they'll say, it's only good for 30 days. Use it or lose it. We're a little bit worried about aggregate demand here. So we're giving you the money, but you got to spend it in 30 days or it disappears. Or just do it to your bank account. It doesn't even have to be a new check. We're going to whack your bank account, 1% a month, not as a negative interest rate, but if you spend it, we won't. The applications of this are horrendous. It's all straight out of George Orwell. And if you take away cash, then you don't have a workaround. At that point, the only workaround is gold, silver, and real estate's a good store of wealth. I think it'll do well, but you can't spend it. First of all, the history of money is interesting, as you know, but people are really good at inventing new forms of money if the old forms don't work. And it's not just the collapse of confidence or, the gold standard or whatever. It's just like in the Great Depression, there wasn't enough money. So towns minted wooden nickels. When I was a kid in the 50s, they said, don't take any wooden nickels. Like, oh. In the Depression, it was legal tender, not legal tender, but people accepted it. And so people will find a way to create new forms of money. So if they outlaw cash and everything's digital and they're doing all the nasty things I described, and worse, again, I'll be really brief, just to give concrete examples. In China, everyone has a health code. It's digital QR code. You're red, yellow, green. Red means you have COVID. Green means you're okay. Yellow means you have a test, but you're awaiting results. But everything you can do is affected by that. If you're red, you cannot get on a train. You cannot buy a plane ticket, et cetera. So, okay, then separately, a mortgage in China, the way it works is you take out your mortgage, you sign the mortgage note, and you put your down payment down, but there's no house. They then use the money to build the house and deliver it to you. But people get mortgages on houses before they're built. In effect, you're financing the developer. Well, what happened was the developers stole all the money and they got all these unfinished houses. But the banks are saying, hey, you still got to pay the mortgage. Sorry, you signed up. So now there are mortgage strikes in China, and they're spreading. So about a month ago, a bunch of Chinese from one province were going to take a train to another city to join a mortgage strike protest. Guess what happened? The health authorities switched their codes from green to red. They switched the COVID codes, nothing to do with the mortgages, but once it was red, you couldn't join the protest, okay? 5 days ago, the state utilities in the state of Colorado took control of people's thermostats externally. And I got one, I feel like smashing it with a sledgehammer, but the analog dials, people go, I got this wonderful digital thermostat. I can be in my vacation house and going home and I can set the temperature to comfortable from 200 miles away. And it's like, yeah, if you can do it, somebody else can do it. That's the point. Those thermostats are locked at 79 degrees. They can't get to air conditioning. Of course, California said we're banning internal combustion engines in 2035. You got to buy electric vehicles. And 5 days later, they said, by the way, don't charge them because we're. So my point is, this is all happening. I rented a car the other day. I was down doing some filming and on the Baltimore-Washington Expressway, 295. And I drive a certain way. The car's got a governor and there's a light flashing. You reach maximum speed. And I'm like, I said to the robot, I said, that's what you think. Watch this. And it didn't. I floored it and put two hands on the wheel and it wouldn't go over 80. So I had a robotic governor on my car. It's like, okay, but that's dangerous. You're merging guys going 78. You want a little oomph to get ahead of them. Yeah. But this is happening, and it's happening to money, and it will This is the secret hidden agenda of the digital currency. It's all true. I can give you concrete examples. It converges, as you described, with the elimination of cash. Get ready. And we can only hope that we can maybe get some new politicians or find ways to resist.